Hello guys and welcome to my channel. Since a lot of things have happened in Aion Classic recently, I wanted to make a video about it and cover the most important topics. So Classic is in a rough spot at the moment, and the most worrying topic right now is the faction balance. After the third Deathbringer event, which took place at June, we have experienced less and less Asmodians playing the game. I didn't really partake in that event, since they decided to up the price of the Deathbringer pass to 400 kunas. The first two Deathbringer events were available for only 5 kuna, and they also gifted you these 5 kuna with an in-game survey. But this one, they suddenly decided to drastically increase the price without providing the kuna for it. So they basically wanted you to pay for something they previously made absolutely free. This left a bad taste in my mouth, and I didn't want to support that. Also, the Asmodians didn't enjoy that either, since they were an overwhelming amount of aliens to fight against. A friend of mine told me it took him up to 2 hours to kill 15 aliens on the map with his group, so I wanted to check it out myself. I don't have any footage of this, but as soon as I landed here or here, there were at least 2 synths jumping on me with an overwhelming amount of damage, which I haven't seen ever from synths. Also, there was a cheetah I've encountered which baited out my chakra move and suddenly teleported 18 meters away from me. It was the time where a tool started getting popular, which allowed you to do things a game master was able to do, and even more. So we mass reported that sin, but throughout the whole Deathbringer event, which was around like 2 or 3 weeks, that same sin was still porting around in the map. I don't have an official statement at hand, but I heard that Gameforge couldn't just ban any cheaters they wanted, because they were hell-bent on the laws of Germany. They are also very cautious about lawsuits from what I've gathered, making these cheaters roam around this game to this day even. So already this is not a good look for the game, and it led to a mass exodus of the Asmodians, since they were fed up with these cheaters and the overwhelming amount of aliens they had to fight with. When I was on the map at that day, I would assume that for every Asmodian there were at least like 3 or 4 the amount of aliens to fight against. So of course, the motivation of that event went downhill pretty quickly. Gameforge had to act quickly and announced an Asmodian only event, in which they decreased the health of the aliens raid bosses in Ingison and Galgmaros for whatever reason. They also introduced a survey for the Asmodians in which they gifted them an outdated level 55 epic PvP set for 1 Asmodian character on your account. But they didn't provide you with mana stones or enchantment stones to somehow make that gear impactful, so you have to waste your own resources on that gear, which was a waste in my opinion, because there's better gear to invest in. This one doesn't even have magic suppression, for example, so it can only be useful for a magic accuracy set, block set or whatever. My point is that this gear shouldn't be the primary gear for you to enhance when you start with this faction. Also, they reintroduced the surveys for the Asmodian, which you can only get when you reach a specific level. These surveys are for all Asmodian characters in your account. So this is a good thing in my opinion, because not only will these help you out leveling your character, the last one will provide you with reset scrolls and AP, giving you a nice head start when used properly. And keep in mind, the level 55 to 60 surveys is available for every Asmodian character in your account, so you can distribute them to all of your already existing characters, for example. In total, and in my opinion though, this is not enough to awaken the Asmodian faction. But who am I to assume that? Let's check out the first raid after this event dropped. So right off the bat, aliens are still gathering on the island and on the ground, even 5 minutes before the Beluslan raid starts, which isn't a good look already. The Asmodians can still only destroy the gates, and it is impossible for them to enter the boss room, but at least I got this governor. Most of the time the Asmodians are kept on the island, and occasionally some aliens start to glide in because of pure boredom. So I changed to my Sorg so I can at least kill some of the aliens on the island. It took 45 minutes for the aliens to kill that boss, when it took around 10 to 15 minutes to kill the boss when the Asmodians were joining. So it is safe to say that this event is not enough for the Asmodians to regain their strength, and the Asmodians will lose players more and more. A friend of mine sent them this document he made by himself to the community manager, stating that drastic changes need to take place in order to make the Asmodians great again. Since new players are almost impossible to game for this game, we have to focus on the existing players, rather alias to change the faction with these drastic changes. Needless to say, this document was ignored. But why is it now that new players won't come to this game? Here are my assumptions. In the earlier stages of the game, Golden PvP gear coexisted with Epic PvP gear, making them a cheap alternative to those who couldn't afford the best of the best. Not only was it way cheaper to socket and enchant Golden gear, the differences were so minimal that they were practically neglectable. I made a whole video about that if you want to check that out. But now you only have Epic gear, which is a pain to socket and enchant. And in addition to that, they have introduced enchantment buffs. You can nerf down the duration and damage of Godstones when you enchant your gear to a specific point. It is like saying, hey, you hate the Godstones? Now you have the option to nerf them using your wallet. Anyone who has tried to enchant Epic gear to plus 15 knows what I'm talking about. These enchantment buffs will go absolutely nuts when 4.0 hits the server, since on that patch you can decrease the duration of stuns and debuffs by 50% when you fully upgrade all of your gear to plus 15. Also, your PvP attack starts increasing now with these buffs. Also, not to mention, certain skills will now amplify its damage when you reach higher enchantment levels. This encourages cashing into the game to greatly increase your progress on these buffs to a level where I'm about to just quit the game, man. Luckily I made a cheap golden plus 15 PvE set to at least check out these buffs when we get the patch. Also, with the new level 60 epic PvP set, you have the option to reroll passive attributes or even passive skills on that gear to a point which is just laughable, man. You have to invest 60 kuna, which translates to 4 million kina, to randomly reroll the passive stat on that gear. Two skills are completely broken, and these of course have a 1% chance to reroll, making them cost around 400 million kina for each pass, and not to mention these buffs stack with themselves. I want the passive buff which lets you gain health and energy points with a certain chance. With 5 of these buffs, I should be able to spam my skills mainly in PvE, neglecting the cost for the most parts. But all I could manage for now is the weakest version of this buff, on one part. I don't know if I'll ever get this done, since I enjoy twinking a lot in this game. There is a difference between pay to win and pay to progress. A couple patches ago, I would still consider this game pay to progress, but with these changes, we are all well beyond that point now. This golden clip from Angry Joe will explain why this game is pure pay to win now.
A paywall is when a developer develops a game in a way so that it's purposefully difficult or mind-numbingly slow to advance, that it forces the customer to buy something as arbitrary, as ridiculously overpriced crystals in order to speed up slow timers or make the game easier.
He describes it with a paywall though, but this is no different because you're gonna hit that wall in Aion sooner than ever now. Also, I just want to throw this one in. The Fear Arrow is the most broken skill I have ever witnessed in all of Aion. Not only does it remove any shields you have, it makes you unable to use skills and control your character for 3 seconds, which is just more than enough for a well-geared ranger to finish you off. Not even the Gunner in Aion Retail was this broken as a class. And speaking of Gunner, did you know it makes a comeback in Aion Classic with even more broken skills than before? For example, a reflex skill or an airbind which can be casted 40 meters away? Jesus Christ, man. With all of these points, the future of Aion Classic AU looks grim. but nevertheless I will still play it from time to time until Aion 2 arrives. Yeah, I'm still having fun in this game for some reason. Maybe it is the enormous amount of time I have spent on all of my characters, or maybe it is the PvP, which still can be fun in some circumstances. And with the recent event I was able to find a group and kill Phaistos for the very first time. It was a fun thing to do, to be honest. Also, it is worth mentioning that NA is planning to release a classic server in which there will be only Kina as a currency, promising no pay to win stuff. This server is called Aion Ascent, and it also increases the leveling speed, the drop rates, it makes it possible to fly in most places, and the most important thing, at least for me, there won't be any gliding skills and Tiamat skills, which will exclude that absolute horrendous fear skill from the Ranger. For the love of God, thanks. I will give it a shot even though I know I will hate the lags I have to deal with. Also, I will start streaming Aion Classic EU again when they start another campaign, which will most likely be arriving with 4.0, which should be at the end of October this year. Okay, that's all I wanted to share with you. Thanks for stopping by and see you soon.